So welcome to our step-by-step tutorial how to make a dining room table arrangement. So what you're going to need is a double spray tray. Most of these can be bought from your local flower shop or even from your local florist wholesaler. So into our double spray tray I'm going to use 2 blocks of floral foam. I have the Oasis brand here. Normally when you're buying your floral foam, the 2 blocks, when soaked, will fit securely into this tray. Well, what you'll notice with me, I'm inclined to cut a little bit off either end of my blocks, and that just allows a little bit of surplus space for holding any surplus water. I also like to trim the edges off the block of foam as well, and I find that makes it easier to insert the flowers and also to hide the foliage. So then, using my anchor tape, I've anchor taped or strapped in the floral foam onto the container, and I've overlapped it underneath. Make sure when you're strapping in with the anchor tape is to pull it nice and tight and nice and secure around your floral foam. Don't just wrap it around. I want to include 6 candles in this arrangement, and I've chosen to use 6 silver ones. So already I've inserted a candle holder to the end of the candle, and this makes it easier to insert your candle securely down into your floral foam. Don't place them too close together, and that way then the little candle holders themselves, they won't overlap. So I'm just kind of like spacing them out here. I think I'll put one about here and then just one back a bit. So that's my 6 candles there included into the floral foam, ready for making the arrangement. So now we're ready to insert the foliage. I've chosen to use some of our Nobilis, our spruce, a little bit of holly, some silver Sussex and some eucalyptus. But at home you can include whatever foliage suits you and what you prefer. My first 2 pieces of Nobilis I've cut about 30 centimetres, 12 inches in length, and this is going to give me the desired length of the arrangement. Again, at home you could choose to make this a little bit longer or smaller. When inserting these pieces of foliage, it's better if you hold your hand on top when inserting them rather than holding your hand underneath. That way then your arrangement will lie down on your table. So these 2 long ones, I'm going to rest them on the tray and slightly angle them upwards into the floral foam, and that way you'll find then is that they'll hang down and rest onto your table. With 6 smaller pieces, I'm going to insert 2 pieces out to either side just to give me the width of the arrangement. Now normally with table centres you'll find don't come too wide, because unless you want to have no space left to have your dinner. And then in our 4 corners, so the 2 corners on your end and the 2 corners on my end, I'm going to place 4 more pieces. These pieces are that little bit smaller. They're probably between 15 and 18 centimetres in length, just to give you an idea. Everything again is just approximate. So that gives me the outline of the foliage on the bottom of the arrangement that's going to be resting on your table. So now, using a mixture of eucalyptus and silver Sussex, I'm now going to place some foliage in between them pieces. So basically just using your turntable, turning it around and just adding in a couple of different selections. So sometimes I'm adding in some eucalyptus and sometimes I'm adding in some silver Sussex. I also have a little bit of holly there. So what I'll do is I'll keep spinning it around, adding in a selection. Don't be too fussy. Some of this holly has berries on it. And again, for anything that's going in the bottom of the arrangement, you will find using that hand on top technique is much, much better. So that way you'll find where your foliage will rest down to see onto your table. The Hypericum berry, I've removed all the foliage from the stems first. I just find that the leaf is inclined to hide some of the berry, and I definitely want this berry to show. So I'm going to start by working down through the centre of the arrangement with the berry, slightly zigzagged. So at the moment I'm going on my side of the candle, and now I'm going to insert a piece on your side of the candle, and then another piece on my side, and then a piece for your side, and then my side again, and your side. And I just want to get one a little bit longer just to come out on this end. So that's just a little bit of berry down through the centre of the arrangement. And then with some slightly medium length pieces of berry, I just want to go around the very, very bottom of the arrangement. So I'm just inserting where I started off the kind of outline of foliage when I had it resting on the table. I'm just kind of following that shape. And again, you'll notice I use that hand on top technique as I insert the berry into the foam. And that way then the berry will lie down on the table, which is what I wanted to do. So you can see the way I'm just going along the very bottom of the arrangement, adding in some berry. So now what I want to do is work around this area here where you have like some spaces. and the same on the opposite side. I'll just turn that around to you, just in around that general area. So that's where I'm going to insert the rest of the berry. I'm using in total 25 stems of Hyperican berry, just to give you an idea. Now that does work out slightly expensive. The only thing is, it is a great lasting berry, and it's inclined to dry out. It will lose its colour. It'll go kind of a black colour as it dies or dries out, but it does look well in your flower arrangement. And I find like it's well worth the money. It is expensive, but you do get great value for it. Just want to cut this down a little bit shorter and just insert it back in there again. So there's our 25 stems of Hyperican berry put through that arrangement. And to be honest, if you chose at home, you could just leave it like that and there's no need to add anything extra. So now I have 20 roses. These are large-headed roses, and this particular variety is Red Paris, or Red Paris is the name of this variety. So again, like the berry, down to the centre where the candles are, I'm just going to insert a couple of these roses. As you can see, I've cut them quite short, and I'm putting them in on different angles. So depending on what part of the arrangement you're at, you'll be able to look at them. The idea of this arrangement is it is a double-sided, that people are sitting on both sides of the arrangement. So you can see where this roses at the moment are down through the centre part of the arrangement, but they're all slightly angled, so no matter what side of the table you're sitting at, you'll be able to view the roses. And now what I want to do with some kind of like more medium length is just add a couple, not too close to the bottom, but just here and there down to the bottom of the arrangement, and also just emphasising the end pieces, like where we have a little bit of length on the end of the arrangement. Again, if you chose, you could use like a shorter head rose, which would work out less expensive from your flower shop or your wholesaler, and it could look just as nice. As I said, it was beautiful with just a berry in and out through this arrangement. You didn't need an awful lot of material in and out through it. And I'm also going to add in some of the little silver bit of glitter going through it, just to give this a Christmassy theme. But again, when you're at home, you can keep this as simple or as classic or as expensive, and you can use as little or as more material as you want. I'm just going to add this last rose in over here. I might move one or two of them. Just going to move this rose up just a little bit, just so that it has a little bit more space. So there's our 20 roses divided throughout the whole arrangement. So now I'm just going to add a little bit of silver, just to pick up the silver of the candles, and just to add a little bit of Christmas glitz to this arrangement. So these are little silver glittery apples, which again we purchased in the wholesalers, and they came on their own stick. So I'm just going, I cut the stick short, and I'm just down through the centre of the arrangement, I'm just adding in 4 of them little apples. Next, what I have is a couple of little cones, and again these cones are all sprayed silver already. You could leave it natural and just use your natural cones if you would prefer. And again, I'm just going to add 1 or 2 on this side, and again 1 or 2 over the opposite side. So you can see immediately that's given a nice bit of glitter to this arrangement. Also what we have is some baubles. So like your normal Christmas baubles, and I just have 2 or 3 of them wired together, a little thread hanging out there, we could cut our little threads off. So 2 or 3 little Christmas baubles. Again, if you would prefer not to use them, you don't have to. So around the middle part of the arrangement, that's where I'm going to add in some of the little baubles. I find before you insert a wire, so these are on a florist wire, is if you just bend up the wire at the bottom before you insert it into the floral foam, it just gives a better grip for your baubles, and there's less chance of them falling out. The same of any of the fresh material that you're going to wire up. So if you're going to wire up any fresh pine cones or fresh cinnamon sticks or lemon slices, you'll find if you bend up the wire before it inserts into the foam, it'll make it a lot more secure. For little tips and tricks on wiring up like material, if you follow me on YouTube, I have lots of videos on YouTube showing you like florist tips and florist tricks, and just little ideas, especially for anybody that's starting off at home. So this is just a white little berry. Again, it's like a snowberry, but it's artificial. Again, picked up in the wholesalers. And these are little silver poinsettias. They're very, they kind of complement the apple and the pine cone that's already there. So just keep turning your arrangement around, looking at it from different angles, and inserting your material. This is a little bit of silver ruscus, so it's an artificial ruscus. It was very close in reality to the fresh ruscus. And again, I have it wired with the florist wire. It's a 20 gauge wire I'm using, just in case anybody is wondering. And normally what I do is I do a hairpin bend at the bottom and just wrap the stem around. Or again, anybody that's just starting, is if you just wrap the wire around the end of the material that you wish to insert into the floral foam, there's no problem at all. It's nice and easy. And again, if you're only starting with the wires, maybe to use a 22 gauge wire. 22 gauge wire is lighter than a 20 gauge wire, and it'll be easier for you to insert it. So just going back to this white little snowberry again, just add a little bit of that in and out through the arrangement. So as you can see, there's a lot of material in this. And remember back earlier on when I just had it in foliage, it was beautiful. And then when we added the Hyperic and Berry, as I said, you could just leave it with the Hyperic and Berry. And then even when I just went on to the red roses, you could have just left it. And then we've added in the silver glitter. So hopefully I've catered for all tastes and given everybody a good choice of what material they could use. These are quite easy to make, but they'll also be a lovely gift to give as a person. So maybe coming up to Christmas and you have some of the material in your own garden and you could purchase some of your flowers locally in your local flower shop. This is something you could make to give as a gift to your friend, your neighbour, or even somebody in your family. Again, with all our courses, we offer full backup support. So if you have any questions, run into any problems, just email me here at the school at info@